I wonder what church thinks about fantasies, but let's not go
It would
there.
be interesting to speak to.
Yes, to a
it would be
priest.
interesting
It
to
would be
speak to a
very
priest, to get a
interesting,
priest
but-
on here. It would be really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Maybe not.
maybe, why not? Many people, right, think that they don't fantasize.
Fantasize. Okay.
Okay, so, and they think this because they don't have some kind of elaborate script of what they want to happen. But the truth is, like, a fantasy can be like a memory of a sexy moment, okay? You know?
Not a sexy moment that happened to you necessarily. It
No,
could
not
be-
necessarily. It could be something you saw on TV.
Okay.
It could be something you heard about.
Okay.
It could be...
So a lot of people think that, oh, I don't fantasize. They think they don't fantasize because, as you're saying, they don't have it all scripted in their head. But what you're saying that, hey, even remembering that steamy, sexy scene on that series that you're watching and bringing it into your imagination is a sexual fantasy.
Yeah, totally.
Adding to it, then.
Totally. It can be as simple as a feeling. It can just be a feeling of wanting.
A
That's
feeling
it.
of wanting.
It can be just that. It could be a smell that reminds you of a sexy moment. Okay, it could be a taste that takes you back somewhere. It can be really, really simple. A fantasy is anything that just stimulates desire and increases enthusiasm to want to do it.
Okay, because obviously, I understand where you're coming from, because a lot of people associate the word sexual fantasies to a whole theatrical performance with in a fantasizing way. I
Yes,
understand.
totally.
But I think when people think about sexual fantasies, they think, script, role play, lines, actors.
The guy who walks in with the pizza box,
exactly,
like,
and
I
then
got your
opening-
pizza delivered.
Okay, we all know about Emma's fantasies now. Anyway, pizza boy, beware. I'm joking. But what we're trying to say is actually that any sense, any smell, any taste, anything that makes your desire go poop,
Yeah, it's sensory information, basically.
that also counts as fantasy.
Yeah, because
Okay.
like our fantasies are, so we take in sensory information, right, all the time. Okay, so I'm here, I'm looking at you, my eyes take in the color of your eyes, the color of your lips, your smile now, okay, now you're like, you give me a facial expression as well, okay? So I take in this sensory information. I
okay.
can hear your voice as well,
Okay.
okay? I can feel the air in the room.
The AC.
Exactly. And I take it in.
Okay.
And so with fantasy, we do the same. So I want to ask you a question.
Fire
Is there a music video or something that for you always found like sexually, what's the word? Like sexually exciting, sexually
Does it have to be a
cool?
music video?
Can be anything.
So definitely season 1, Jamie of Outlander.
Okay.
And the sex scenes with Claire.
Okay, so I've
For
never
sure.
seen Outlander.
Oh, you should.
So you need to tell me a bit about Jamie.
Oh, Jamie.
I want these
Well, I mean,
don't tell me too much, but just tell me a little bit about the scene.
obviously, the scene.
Yeah.
Very intimate, very connected, and obviously the sex is very gentle, and he is very gentle, very into what she needs, what she wants.
Okay.
So emotionally very connected. That is what I keep repeating. But
Okay,
also he
cool.
looks gorgeous. He looks
Okay.
handsome.
Cool.
He's got these muscles and.
So he's really like taking care of her and pleasing her and
Yes.
paying a lot of attention
paying
to
a
her.
lot of attention, and it's very
Wonderful.
intense. The word I can think of, very intense.
Okay. Amazing. Very
Okay.
alive.
Okay.
So, what's happening is your brain's taking in that sensory information.
Okay.
Right? Now, what's beautiful about our brains is that they don't just replay it for us. Like you click play and it plays
And it
again.
plays again. Okay.
Our brains ad-lib this sensory information. Okay, so it creatively adjusts it to fit, it mixes it with our memories and most importantly with our needs.
Okay.
Okay, with our wants and desires.
All right.
Okay, so we sort of see something, we mix it up. It's like a DJ mixing up a
A
song,
piece
like
of
with
song.
different music
Okay.
and whatever. We make it our own.
All right.
Okay, So it's a lot like dreams. Fantasies are a lot like dreams.
So now, if I fantasize about Jamie from Outlander, all of a sudden he mixes with my interpretation of him and what suits me.
Exactly. What do you need? Like, exactly. So it mixes with your memories, with your sensory information, what smells you like, whatever.
He becomes everything that I want, that I need and I want.
Exactly.
All mine! Jamie becomes all mine.
This is amazing. Like how we.
It's exactly like dreams.
Exactly.
It's exactly like dreams.
It's like dreams. It's so super cool. Like dreams, we take in sensory information all day long. And then we sleep and we're connecting the dots between the different pieces of sensory information and linking it to our memories and our needs. And we're dealing with conflict. We're dealing with how the conflict of fantasy is especially dealing with the conflict of desire. I want, but there are certain cultural expectations that don't allow. So it comes out through imagination. And the dream is very similar. It's just not limited to the sexual. It can be anything.
About anything. Yes.
Am I making sense?
But yes, but also a dream is something that you go and sleep and you have no control over. But a fantasy is something that you can sit at your desk, at work, and go in your head.
So it's daydreaming.
It's daydreaming. It's actually daydreaming.
Yeah. And in therapy, we can... It's amazing. If you look at a dream or a fantasy, it's almost like doing 5 therapy sessions in one, because there's so many different layers to the dream or the fantasy. It's amazing.
So if a person goes with a sexual fantasy to a therapist, they can actually figure out what is going on in their psyche. We can learn a lot about your internal dynamics, so your needs, your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, what has your culture taught you that is not okay to express. And from there, we learn a lot about your relationship dynamics. Because what I believe I can't express, I can't take to my partner. Of course, if you believe it's a taboo, then whatever, you can't share it.
Yeah.
You're too shameful to share it or shy to share it.
Exactly.
So, I think our first segment is nearly over, but before we go for the adverts, I just want to reiterate a bit, okay? And I want to point out what you said about fantasy. Everybody fantasizes.
Yes.
They might not be aware that it's called a sexual fantasy as well.
Yes.
So, watching the handsome man walk into the office to deliver something, and I'm just going by that advert of a particular soft drink.
Yes, it wasn't something that happened earlier today.
No. I mean, unfortunately, there's only Jay in front of me.
He's a hot stud, man.
Yeah, hot dude Jay. So, but even if that man, the hot dude with the soft drink comes in and drinks it, and you look at him with these, the advert. Yeah, I'm talking about.
Yes.
And they all drool, and then they go back into their own world and just fantasize, and think about him. That is actually also a fantasy.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Second part of the show, we're going to talk about the symbolic content.
Yes.
I love this. So we're going to analyze it.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to leave our listeners now for a song and some adverts, and we'll be right back.
See you soon. Yeah.
So in our first segment, we have established that no way somebody can come up to you and say, no, I don't fantasize. That is like when you wake up in the morning and say, I didn't dream tonight, whereas in actual fact, we know that we dream every night.
Even when we don't remember them.
Even when we don't remember them.
Exactly.
So what we are saying here, that everybody has a sexual fantasy. So even if you imagine for a split second that smell which made you desire something or want something, that is also a sexual fantasy to a certain extent.
I went to this hotel once in Paris, and they used to give...
Oh, she's going to tell us her secrets.
No, but they used to give all their customers, their clients, a candle of their scent.
Oh, wow.
which I thought was really clever.
Very clever.
Because that keeps you, every time you switch it on, you get a memory. And
That
if you
is
had
very
great
clever.
sex in that hotel, you're gonna
You're
remember
going
it
to?
even more and want to go back. So
Okay.
super
Very good.
cool.
Because in fact, I believe that the power of scent is the most powerful.
Linked to memory.
Linked to memory,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
that jogs the memory the most.
Totally, yeah.
So maybe a hint to all hotels out there. That's very good.
I know, I really liked that. It was such a nice touch.
So, in this part, we are going to talk about the symbolic content of
Yes,
a sexual fantasy.
yes.
Go, girl.
Cool. So we often hear like ridiculous things like, oh my God, if you dream, let's speak about dreams
Dreams.
first. So if you dream about a snake, it must mean that you have penis envy,
Seriously?
for example.
Where did you find this?
Freud.
Hey, Freud, what were you talking about?
But people still do this. Like, for example, if you fantasize about having sex with with a woman, but you're a woman and you're not gay, then maybe it means that
Repressed.
you're repressing that you are
Gay.
gay or whatever. We generalize meaning.
Okay.
But in the same way that a smell can trigger one memory for me, and that same smell can trigger a completely different memory
A
for you.
trauma for me.
Exactly. The content of our fantasies and dreams are symbolic. They're not literal.
We can't generalize
No.
the meaning of something.
So a snake to me can mean something completely different to you. So I'm curious.
Okay.
When you think of a snake, like what comes to your mind?
Run!
Run. Okay. But didn't I see a photo of you with a snake around you
No, in
once?
fact, it's true. No, I don't think run. But if it's out in the wild, it's run. If it's obviously at a party, my son's party, my son's friend's party, and there's a snake whose owner tells me, okay, this one doesn't bite. He was going into my top, into my bag, everywhere, the snake.
And was your fear response going off?
No,
Were you
no,
scared?
no. I was not scared at all
Okay.
because he told me it's not poisonous and they don't bite. So I trust the person.
Okay.
And when I was in Thailand, I had a king cobra on my.
Oh my God,
on
you're courageous.
Yes, but there were two other people. So yeah, sometimes I'm mad rather than courageous. But going back to your question,
Yeah.
a snake out in the wild would scare me.
Okay, so for you, a snake is scary if it's wild, but not if it's tamed.
If
like,
it's
not if
tamed,
it's sort of
it's like nothing.
domesticized.
Yes, it's nothing.
Okay.
Are you doing your therapy on me here?
No, because this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. So what I'm saying is, like, my job as a therapist.
Definitely not penis envy.
No.
That's what you are trying to say. So if I dream of a snake, it's definitely not that. Yes?
No. What I'm trying to say is that, like, for everyone, it means something different. So, I find snakes very scary. For example,
Okay.
like if I see a picture of a snake, it instantly triggers my fear
Your
response,
fear.
and I'm just
Okay.
like, "Whoa," like kind of get
Yeah.
it away,
Yeah.
But a friend of mine has pets, snakes for pets, and she loves them. So if she dreams of a snake, it's probably
yeah.
completely different than if I dream of a snake.
So what we're saying is definitely, if you have a dream, do not look up the meanings given by Freud.
Yeah, like these books, that say, if you dream about this,
It's
it
true.
means this. It's like, it's no, like kind of
No,
maybe
because it's all symbolic, isn't it?
it's totally symbolic and it's totally relative. So, and this was what I was going to say before, like my job as a therapist is never to interpret or judge your fantasy or dream, because I don't know. Like I need to explore with you. I need to see, okay,
What a snake means to you, for
exactly,
example.
what does it represent to you? Do you want
Before you can actually make a conclusion, draw a conclusion and say, like,
Exactly.
listen, this is how I can interpret your dream.
Do you want to pick it up or do you want to run away from it? Does it make you feel powerful or does it make you feel very small? Do you want to wrap it around you or do you want to throw it away and destroy it? And this all gives us information about what the symbol in your dream represents. And fantasies are the same.
I was going to ask you, so is it the same way? Are our sexual fantasies, can they be interpreted in that way?
Yeah, they can be explored. I like to avoid the word interpret, because interpret is a lot like analyze.
Okay.
And in fact, a lot, you know how it is.
Yes.
I introduce myself as a psychotherapist often.
Yes.
And people go, "Oh, you're analyzing me," and I'm like,
Okay.
No, actually, no." Because I don't know you, you know. Like if you come to my office, like, and we talk and we explore, you know, we do it together. We create meaning together. You know what I mean? I'm never here
Because
sitting going,
obviously
this is what it means for you.
But Emma, we are in a day and age where some people think that when you're going to a therapist, they still refer to the therapist as a shrink, and they still think that only people who have problems need a therapist.
Yeah.
And when they imagine a therapist, they imagine, you know, people with the white thing, you know, the
lab coat.
the lab coat, and you know, so.
But you know, that's the representation is partly the fault of the what do you call it? The school of thought of psychology itself, because for a long time we looked at illness, you know, mental illness, like there's no such thing as mental illness. Like yes, there are people who become disturbed, but if somebody comes to you with certain symptoms, like, you know, I experience anxiety, or I feel down, or whatever.
Usually the cause is not an illness, but a situation.
Well, if I respond to you and tell you, you know, you have this condition, there's very little you can do about it. Like, you know, go home and take this medication. You're going to think you're really messed up.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
But if I look at your lifestyle holistically and I say, okay, so let's explore when the anxiety comes up, and let's look at your diet as well. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at how much support you have in your family, you know, and with your friends. And do you rest? Do you breathe deep? You know, and we look at all these different things. That's totally different. The power is in your hands then, because you can then adjust your lifestyle, and the anxiety can lessen, and your self-empowerment can increase, and you're not labeled. Do you know what I mean? You're not labeled.
Yes.
So even this thing with desire, that, you know, that fantasies are perverse. Like, I mean, okay, if we want to label people and make them sick, go for it, but that's not something that settles well with me.
No. Because in fact, I like what you wrote here, that dreams are often a poetic way of overcoming struggles.
Yeah.
And sexual fantasy are also a poetic way of overcoming the conflicts around desire. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so what I mean by conflict is when you have a need, okay, so a need that you want to express. So for example, a need can be something as basic as, I'm thirsty, I need water.
It's a need.
Okay, but I have a belief somewhere that tells me I'm not allowed to meet that need. So for example, if I'm in class, if I'm at school, okay, I'm a student,
yes,
and I'm thirsty, I need water, but I've been taught that you don't drink until break time.
Okay.
Okay, then it becomes really difficult for me to meet that need. Okay, whenever I'm around, for example, an authority figure.
Okay, or when I'm by association.
Yeah, when I'm at uni and I'm in class and I'm thirsty and I think it's really rude to drink now.
Okay.
So we have a very similar thing with fantasies and sexual desire. There's so much taboo around a lot of sexual desire, you know, that we tend to not express it. We tend to not notice our need. And our brain always like creatively finds a way for us to bring our need about. So if I'm thirsty and I believe that it's not time to drink, my brain will fantasize about drinking. Yeah.
To compensate for the fact that you're physically not drinking.
Exactly, because my body wants homeostasis. It wants to be in balance, right?
Okay.
So it needs the water to do something.
So you fantasize about it. You imagine it.
Exactly. That's the way that my brain knows I have a need that I need to meet.
Okay. And so with sexual fantasies?
It's the same. So later on, I'll tell you a whole story about a fantasy.
Okay.
But basically, so it comes out through some kind of imagination, right? So, and there's lots of taboo around it, so we don't always understand. And the problem is that because there's taboo and we don't speak about it, we have nothing to compare it to.
I don't think there are people who actually go, hey, up to their friends having coffee. You know what my sexual fantasy is?
Unless you're really close,
Unless
right?
you're really, really, really close.
Yeah.
And also, because there are people who are very, very close, but still would not share that.
Yeah, totally.
Because I don't think it's
Yeah.
about being really close. I think it's about being really open about this, because let's face it, sharing your sexual fantasy with a friend is also sharing a part of yourself, because as you said, your sexual fantasy can be explored and can tell a lot about you.
Yes, so it puts you in a very vulnerable position.
position. So
And another thing is that our sexual fantasies tend to be a bit weird.
yes.
Right? So, like,
Yes.
we dream, like, you might fantasize about getting raped, or about gangbanging a woman, or about having several men go down on you one after another. Being with someone of the same sex if you're not gay, or you can have fantasies that are like illegal kind of thing,
Yes.
like being with someone in their teens. I mean,
Yes,
teen
yes,
porn
yes.
is huge.
It's huge,
So we know that
yes.
many people fantasize about
that.
about
yes,
this.
Yes. So there's a lot of secrecy, there's a lot of shame attached to our fantasies. Now, you're also said, we've discussed that fantasies reveal our deepest wishes. However, not in the sense that if my fantasy is being raped, that is my deepest wish.
Exactly.
No.
And in fact, usually, never does a woman come up to you and say, oh my God, I have this fantasy about being beaten in the face,
No.
and bruised and forced into. It's just about being, it's usually just about being desired so much that the man cannot hold himself back. Again, I'm interpreting, so we need to work on it. I need to explore it with the person, But so it's never so literal.
But what we're saying here, that if you fantasize about such things that we have mentioned, one, you're not weird.
No.
Two, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Three, it doesn't mean that you actually want that to happen.
No, and very often, like, the emotions that are in our sexual fantasies are the ones that we label as bad, like aggression, jealousy, possessiveness, neediness, okay? And it's again our way of letting out these emotions that we have to suppress during the day.
I think these are emotions which are also very raw attached to sex.
Yeah.
Very, 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 when we fantasize about these things, it's very, very raw sex. So maybe also raw sex, raw lust is something that growing up, especially here in Malta, in Catholic schools, I don't know what school you went to, but I went to a Catholic school.
Me too.
And the churches, and going, we are a Catholic country at the end of the day. And I think these... obviously, we have been brought up with a certain stigma, with a certain taboo, that this is what I am trying to break with this show. That, for example, today, if you're listening to this and we said that getting raped or, having sex with several men in front of everybody is one of your sexual fantasies, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you.
No.
Or that you're not normal.
You're not sinning,
Or
you're not perverted.
You're not sinning, you're not
It doesn't mean that this
perverted.
is what you want in real life.
It doesn't mean that you don't, want it to happen.
And in fact, and this is important, because sometimes people do misunderstand and they think that their fantasies are what they want in their real life. So if you fantasize about having an affair, it doesn't mean that you want to have an affair. But some people actually go out and do it because they believe, if I'm thinking about it, this must be what I want. But
It's
that can
like
have
reading
disastrous
the book
repercussions.
and then watching the movie. Always a disappointment. It's exactly that.
That's one way to look at it. But it
so
can
you
have
fantasize
disastrous
in your head how it's
repercussions.
going to happen, and then you go out and try and do it, and it's a complete disaster. Maybe not.
But to fantasize about having an affair can be great. It can be so much fun on your own or with your partner.
Cheating?
I think, well, I think it depends on the couple to define that. If you ask me, no, but Yeah, it depends on the couple. It really depends on the couple. Like, it's something you need to speak about together.
So, Emma, I can't believe our second segment, is already over and done with. So we're going to go for a break and a song, and we'll be back to continue talking some more about fantasies.
Very cool.
So anyway, back to our topic, which is sexual fantasies. And, I am a born teacher, Emma, so I like to explain and go back and explain. But for the sake of our listeners, when I used to be in class, I always used to, go back to the focal point of the lesson, because that is all, you cut out all the words, everything in between. And what I really, really love about this show, about what we're talking about here with sexual fantasies, is one, everybody fantasizes.
Yeah.
Two, it does not need to be like this scripted whole play with, but even just a sensation, even a smell that arouses this desire within us, that is a fantasy.
Yes.
As well.
Exactly.
So, and also what we were saying, that's what we said in the first part of the show, and then
it's
what we're saying...
anything that stimulates desire.
And then in the second part of the show, we spoke about how if you have these weird, sexual fantasies, like having sex with many men in front of, many other men.
A crowd.
That does not mean that you are in some way
weird or
not normal,
or
you want it to happen.
Yeah.
Or pervert.
Yeah.
But actually, those are sexual fantasies. Those are sexual fantasies.
And in fact, usually we fantasize about the stuff that we won't actually do.
Ever do.
I mean, there are some people who believe that because they fantasize it, they need to do it, and they do go out and do it. But like we said before, like, it can have disastrous effects, so it's...
It might not live up to our expectations of it.
Yeah, and it can...
This is reminding me of the radio show with Ken Kassar where we unpacked the threesome. That was awesome.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, because we were talking about how a threesome is top. In fact, last week when we were talking to Matt, when I was talking to counselor Matt Bartle, and we spoke about fantasies, we spoke about the top 10 fantasies of females and top 10 fantasies of male, which were practically the same. Just number 1 and 3 and 5 were a bit mashed up, but they were all the same. And threesomes obviously was there. But just because we fantasize, for example, about a threesome does not mean that we want it to happen.
Yeah.
Because in reality, if you go back and listen to that show, which is on my Facebook page, Ken gives a very animated and comical, but very real account of how a threesome might go.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It might last no longer than 3 minutes.
Then you go make a sandwich.
So yes, that's what we're saying, that a sexual fantasy, that if you have a sexual fantasy, it's a deep wish, but not that wish that you want to happen.
I mean, if you're single and it's not such a big deal for you to go and act it out, if you're not breaking any law or you're not devastating anybody and it doesn't go against your values or whatever, then that's fine. But if it's, what I mean? If it's like, if it's risking your marriage or it's risking you're taking
career,
if you're taking advantage of
family,
someone, that's
exploiting
not
someone.
Okay. Like, be aggressive, be dominant in your imagination. You don't have to go and do it.
We're talking about fantasies, okay? But we are talking about here, we have spoken about private fantasies, aren't we?
Yeah.
The fantasies that you have on your own, privately. But I assume that there are couples out there who share fantasies.
For sure.
And together, might share a fantasy to make their sex life richer.
Yeah.
I'm using your word here.
Yeah, I love this word. So, for sure, there are some people who really have fun with their fantasies, and it keeps them looking forward to sex and, wanting more and stuff. So it's really good. I think that with some couples, there needs to be a bit of caution because, if the partner takes it literally, like you know, I'm fantasizing that you're someone else, or I'm fantasizing that I'm someone else. You know, they can get very upset about it or
Yes.
whatever. So it just depends on the nature of the relationship,
I
where
think
you can go with your partner.
Some couples might actually be a bit too shy to tell their partner what their fantasy is.
Yes.
What do you tell these listeners if they have a fantasy which they want to share with their partner but are a bit shy about it?
I would say,
Listen to the show, first of all.
Ask yourself how your partner usually responds to you on these kinds of topics, and see whether they're open to it or not.
Then make him listen to the show.
Sure, you know, why
There
not?
are two shows
I
about
think that's a good
fantasies.
idea, like to give them some priming, you know. But you can also really take care of your partner and kind of say, listen, like, I have this fantasy sometimes, and I love playing with you, and I love being with you, and I was just wondering if you wanted to play together, you know. So it doesn't become like, you're not good enough and I need the fantasy to stimulate me,
Because there are so many connotations.
you know what I mean?
You have
Like,
to be so careful.
you can be tapping into a wound there where
Yes.
like all of a sudden the partner feels like, what, I'm not enough, you need to be thinking about something else.
Or else the other way round, you know, the woman might start to think, what, am I getting a belly? What, am I not young enough? Am I not?
So really emphasize, you know, that you want to share this. It's not about, I want to bring this because this isn't good enough and we need to make it better. It's, you know, I love playing with you, because at the end of the day, sex is play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love playing with you. Do you want to play this? You remember being on the
Yes.
playground and people would come and say, you want to play? You want to
wanna
play?
play?
Like, it's
Yes.
that same kind of excitement. You want to play this?
Okay.
See
So
how they
I
respond.
see here that you've prepared a fantasy for me.
Yeah. So, I want to tell you about this woman. I will call her Claire. And she had this
Claire. Okay.
this amazing fantasy that I found so interesting.
So this would be like somebody who was a client.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so she used to have this fantasy. She went through a period. It wasn't like she always had this fantasy, but she went through a period of time where she was like repetitively fantasizing that she was a queen
Yes.
in this like massive castle. Like,
Okay.
So
The
this
queen
was
of my castle.
yeah. So this was her queen. This was her what do you want to call
Domain, her reign.
it? Exactly. And one day she's undressing in her massive bedroom, and a lord accidentally walks in on her.
Her lord or any lord?
Not her husband, a lord, a person who's
lord.
there to serve her.
Oh, so she had a husband or not? I'm sorry, but I'm very curious. We don't know. Okay.
No, it was never. She was never attached. She was the queen.
Okay, the queen. Go,
Okay.
girl.
So
So the lord walks in.
the Lord walks in on her while she's undressing, and he's terribly embarrassed. Okay, so he blushes, but he's really curious. Like, he can't take his eyes off her, and he's like, what do you call a queen? My what do you call them?
Subject.
No.
Soldiers?
When you call your queen, you call them your
My lady.
my lady,
My-
whatever,
whatever.
my lady. Like, you're magnificent.
My sovereign.
You're magnificent. He keeps telling her, you're magnificent. You're magnificent. Oh my God, I've never seen anybody like you. It's like you came down from heaven. We must show you off.
I love this fantasy so far. Huh? Very
Anyway,
good.
it's beautiful. We must show you off.
Okay.
You know, you're a work of art. We can't keep you locked
Hidden.
away in here, hidden. We must show you off. May I have your permission to show you off to the soldiers? And she considers it, and she says, okay, why not?
Okay.
Okay.
This is all a sexual fantasy for those of you listening right now.
So he takes her out to the soldiers, okay, to where they're living. And now when you think of soldiers, I want you to think of that movie 300. Did you watch that movie?
Yes, I did watch
Okay,
that movie.
so
I only watched it for the soldiers, nothing else.
There you go. Okay, so hot stuff. Yes.
Okay,
ripped.
Spartacus!
Okay, independent men. They don't need you for reassurance. Okay,
Okay.
they're just like,
Mega.
bam.
Yeah.
Okay. So she goes out to these soldiers, and there's the Lord with her, and the Lord's saying, come and see our queen, come and see our queen. And all the soldiers, like one by one, are just like, my queen, you're magnificent. May I touch? May I touch? And she goes, yes, you know. And they touch. And my queen, I've never seen anything like you. May I taste? Yes. And they pleasure her, and it's one after another, and they're all watching, and they're just all in awe. Okay. Now, what was really interesting about Claire was that she experienced a lot of guilt and shame around this fantasy.
Okay. Hence, that's why she sought therapy, because it actually...
She was in therapy for other reasons, and this came up.
Okay. But obviously, if it didn't give her guilt or shame, she would not have brought it up.
Totally. I mean, we were working with her sexuality a lot at that time, and it would become apparent why. Now, she was a major feminist at this point, okay? So for her, it was like, why on earth am I daydreaming about allowing several men to take from me? Okay. She also had a history of sexual abuse by men.
Okay.
So
obviously it did not make sense to her.
It didn't exactly on a superficial level. It didn't make sense, and she was like, "Why am I allowing these men to take from me, to abuse me, kind of thing?"
Yes.
But what was very interesting about this fantasy was, she was the queen. And I asked her, we explored this, what does being the queen mean to you, Like at any point, she can behead these guys,
Off with his head.
Exactly. If one of them does something she doesn't like, boom, you're out, gone.
So in reality, she was...
In control. Yeah.
She was the power.
Yeah, she was... And in fact, this fantasy was a really beautiful symbol of the point of transition that this woman was in, because she had been identifying as a victim for so long. Okay. And through our work where she healed her trauma, and she no longer needed to identify as, I've been abused, and she was a victim in her young, but she didn't need to stay in that place anymore.
As the victim.
So
now she was the queen. She was powerful. She was in
Exactly.
power.
Now she can welcome any pleasure she wants, and she can say no to anything she doesn't want, because she's a 30-year-old woman. She's in control. Okay.
She's no longer the victim.
But
on face value, that sexual fantasy looked nothing like that.
To her at the time, it was confusing.
Okay.
Yeah?
I love that.
I love it too. I love it.
that.
And I think it's so beautiful.
I love it.
Her sexual fantasy freed her from the burden of her sexual history.
So what we're also telling our listeners that explore your sexual fantasies.
Yeah.
Maybe try and understand why you have them. Not necessarily. I mean, we don't want to make this hard work.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have you don't need to do a PhD on your fantasies to understand them, right?
It removes all the pleasure out of them.
I mean, it's real fun, like, for example, to explore it in sessions. You totally can, and you'll definitely gain a lot from it and experience a richer sexual life. So that's super cool. If you want to do it, go for it. But if that's not your thing, all you have to do to gain from sexual fantasies is just lean into them a little. So lean into the feeling, okay?
Give them the space.
Yeah, and bring it to the erotic space. Bring it to the safe space with your partner or with yourself. And just explore it. Let the need come out. Let the feeling come out. The aggression, the jealousy, the neediness, the wanting to be desired. Whatever it is for you. Like, just play.
I love that. And I love, I know that Esther Perel is one of your
mentors.
So go with it, because this is your work.
Esther Perel, I was listening to her recently, and she said, fantasy is what gives the flavor and the meaning to the act. So I want to add to that and say, cook your love up with some spice, give it flavor, and play.
Oh, wow.
It's so poetic, right?
Perfect. ending. If anybody would like to get in touch with Emma Hogg, please, all you have to do is, go on my Facebook page, which is Let's Talk About Sex on XFM 100.2, and there you can see the whole snippet, the whole session of today's Let's Talk About Sex, which was about sexual fantasies, and there I can help you get in touch with Emma. Emma, what can I tell you more? Thank you so much for sharing this
Thank you
with
for
me.
having me.